Hey mechanics, it's Red Knobster, and today's yet another episode of Scrap Mechanics. So as you can see here, what we have is our land glider. That's what I'm calling it anyways. It's basically a made-up terminology for a sled. As you can see, we have the sled front here that allows us to drive forward with this vehicle. It is a vehicle, of course, without tipping over as easily. Not only that, as you can see by its torquing method, we're also tilting back and forth. That is basically the self-adjusting mechanism going off over and over and over again because I'm on a slight slant, which basically means if we're tilting forward, we will then automatically tilt back without having to hit any buttons using sensors. Same thing as if we're tilting backwards, we will automatically tilt forwards. Now another thing you might notice right off the bat is that there is also no steering wheel. This is actually just a seat. There's no driver's seat at all, and there are also no tires. That's the whole point of the sled, of course. It's just a frictionless thing that is propelled by these thrusters using buttons and stuff like that. But another, feature of this is the fact that you can actually still turn despite the fact we don't have tires or axles or anything. So as you can see, if we want to turn left, we just hit 2. If we want to turn right, we just hit 1. Now it's not a 90-degree angle, we can just tap it over and over again, just, fine-tune it. But to take off, we just hold down the 1 key, so we'll just thrust in this direction. That sounds dirty. And we're gonna fly off and be beautiful. So the first thing you'll notice is that this thing doesn't tip over very easily at all. As you can see, I'm hitting bumps and stuff like that. It doesn't really matter. I can go over these tiny little rocks. I don't even think those things are really there. They're just sprites anyways. But if we go over a hill like this, as you can see, whee! So not only is it a land glider, but it's also an air glider, which is why I didn't really call this thing a sled. It's kind of not a sled whatsoever. It slides across the ground like a sled, but once we, take off like so, it's not a sled anymore. And we can basically go wherever we want. We can even turn in the air and redirect, but of course, if we hit the ground too hard... Ah! What is happening? I'm going to call this a feature rather than a bug due to the fact that it's very efficient. As you can see, I'm traveling at Mach speed towards this tree, and my arm is starting to turn into a limp noodle. Anywho, let's go ahead and place one down right there, drop it. As you can see, you'll start seeing the mechanism go off once I walk past this sensor. Boosh! And it leans forward. And the same goes for the front as well. It keeps it stuck to the ground. We can even go, vertical as well, and basically the same thing takes place because we'll stick to the wall a little bit, considering it puts us in the direction towards the bottom of the craft itself. Oh, get it! Oh, get it! Look at this! Can your car do this? I don't think so. Oh, we're going to outer space! Coming in for a hot landing. I don't know what to do. Bail! It was like the scene from the first Jurassic Park where the car gets stuck in the tree. Alright, now when I said I was going to do a tutorial, I didn't mean on this craft itself because it is extremely variable. You can do basically any shape you want. The bigger it gets, the more things you have to add to it, of course, but when keeping it this small, you can basically do any type of shape. I can build a little, roof here if I wanted to. This is just the bare bones concept that I came up with, testing to make sure it actually does work in some way, shape, or form. So, I'll just go over the mechanics a little bit. Basically, when I'm turning left and right, I'm basically using a bug in the springs, or the suspensions. Basically, to lift up, as you can see here, this right here will activate these 2 springs on these 2 bearings, basically in a blue direction, meaning these 2 blocks right here get pushed up into this one. So as you can see, if I drop this, boosh, it'll constantly be pushing up because it's being pushed forward and this one pushes it back. But basically these 2 suspensions are pushing up into these blocks, forcing the entire structure up. Because not even just in this game, but a lot of games that have suspensions or springs or things like that, if a spring is connected to the object it's pushing, it'll basically give itself momentum, perpetually, and that's what it's doing here. And basically the sensor is also helping, basically detecting if there's ground right here, that means it's about to tip over backwards or something like that. So, it pushes it up on the back. Same thing for the front. It detects with this sensor the ground, and I think this is actually detecting this, so it's not even working. Never mind that.
Oh no.
Now the biggest reason why I'm using a seat instead of a driver's seat is 1, it takes up a lot less space, and I think it might weigh a little bit less, but I haven't tested that of course, so I might do that in the future. But nonetheless, it also allows you to use buttons, and buttons are a little bit closer considering the 1 key is my forward key, the 2 and 3 turn left and right. As you can see, 2 turns left, 3 turns right, and it connects to a bunch of stuff which you probably can't tell, but I'll show you how to do that over here. Actually using a driver's seat though, because it's a little bit more simple to understand. Okay, so we put the bearing on top, put the block, then put the spring attached to that, then put the block, and then put blocks coming off like this, going up, and then basically blocking off the pathway without connecting to the block with the bearing under it, of course, because then it will just move with the spring and not even move, which is pretty important. And then we put this on top somewhere. I don't know. Boosh. Right there. And this is just to display the fact that you can control the spring using the driver's seat or buttons or, you know, controllers, things like that. So then once we drop it, I think we can drop it right there. And right there, of course. Once we get in, if we want to hit left, we'll start turning left. Oh my god! And then when we want to hit right, we'll start turning right. Now this is very amplified because there's absolutely zero weight on top of this seat. But when you put it to a structure like this, it'll be a little bit less. And if you want to push a bigger structure, you just add more than one spring. Now another really awesome thing is because it's so responsive, you can actually drive in first person fairly well. As you can see, I'll just drive through this little forest real quick and try not to die. Let's go around this tree, why not? Beautiful. But it's very easy to drive. It's very speeder kind of like, once you think of like Star Wars and stuff like that, though it doesn't look like a speeder. But it acts like one pretty well, and of course we can take off, land on the launch pad. No, I didn't even take off very far. And this was my prototype. This was the first version that I just ramped over like a boss, and it's basically just showing the basic sled shape, and that's really it. As you can see, I was only using one spring to begin with, which is impossible because that only allows us to turn in one direction. Now I don't have any buttons attached to it, and it wasn't very wide either, so it started tipping over left and right. But this one's a little bit wider, so I recommend making it, somewhat wide, at least as wide as this, if you're not going to be making it too tall. And I believe this is going to go down in history as one of my favorite vehicles as well, considering it's just so efficient. It's very easy to build. I feel like I could build this once survival comes out very easily, because it's so small. I don't need to do anything else really. And allows me to, traverse the terrain in a very efficient way and also have fun while doing it, because it looks awesome, first of all. I look like I'm Santa Claus right now with my little Santa suit on. Look at this. I'm going to ramp, and we're going to end the video there. Oh god, first person. Oh god, I can't see what's happening. Oh, okay. I'll start doing some cartwheels. Doing some loop-de-loops. And stuck the landing. I'm still flying. Never mind. Nailed the landing. Anyways, mechanics, if you guys enjoyed this episode, of course, leave a like. And of course, subscribe if you're new here. I do cool concepts like this all the time. And I'll see you in the next video.